Hey Dream Chasers, it's JC. Sorry for the somewhat sensational title. I'm just trying to use a title that might help people who are searching for this get to the right information. So to answer the question, can you get sued for doing Inktober? No, absolutely not. You won't get sued for participating in the challenge or using the hashtag. However, there are some new legal guidelines regarding selling your Inktober work that you should be aware of. So I'm going to outline what those are, since I think that's the most important piece of information that needs to get out there. But then I'm going to go over kind of how all this happened and why people are so upset about it. But first, here's what you need to know. Jake Parker created the hashtag in 2009 and now owns a trademark to the term Inktober. He released a statement December 20th that outlines usage about what you can do legally in regards to selling your artwork. There is a link in the description to the whole thing if you want to read it, but the key points that you should know are: you cannot use the Inktober logo. You can use the word Inktober as long as it's with the year of participation, like Inktober 2019. And for art books or sketchbooks or anything like that, you can only use Inktober plus the year as the subtitle, not the lead title on the cover of your book. Jake also said that if you already have an art book that doesn't follow these new guidelines, to reach out to him through his website. Because, he probably realized that some people had books printed earlier than 3 days ago when he made these guidelines clear in the first place. So if that's all you came for, was the new guidelines around selling your Inktober work, then great, video over, chase your dreams, peace. But if you want the tea, settle in, babes. So what happened to prompt this announcement, and why was the Inktober hashtag trending in December? Well, it turns out people were getting takedown notices through Amazon saying that their Inktober sketchbooks were violating a third party's trademark rights. On December 19th, Kiki Doodle and Permades tweeted a link to a post on the Artist Alley Network International Facebook page. That is a long name. Most people just call it the Artist Alley page. But anyway, there was a post there warning people that their Inktober work might get taken down. So this is pretty normal for art groups to share this kind of information because copyright and trademark laws are confusing, and there's all kinds of stuff trademarked that you would never even guess, including, and this is true, the phrase "fight like a girl" and the exact shape and dimensions of white space around a Polaroid photo. Like, I never would have guessed that either of those things were trademarked. So, people share this information. To be clear, this information wasn't shared just to drag Jake. This was shared to protect artists from getting copyright strikes or getting sued, which is a valid concern. And some people have painted this like there's lots of misinformation and people are overreacting, but I really don't think that's fair. People were sharing information that they had at the time to protect artists from legal issues and getting their accounts suspended and getting strikes from sites like Amazon and Etsy. And, strikes against your livelihood are legitimately scary and stressful and have a real tangible impact on your ability to support yourself. People were acting accordingly. Several artists received similar emails from Amazon letting them know that their work was being removed for violating a third party's trademark. And the wording was pretty alarming, saying stuff like, "We expect that you'll compensate the party appropriately for any infringing copies sold." And it also said, "It may lead to suspension or termination of your account." By the way, I'm removing the names of people who posted these takedowns just in case, for legal reasons or whatever, they decide to remove them later. So after this information started getting around, some other people looked it up and found that, yep, Jake Parker's company, JP Creative LLC, registered a trademark 2 years ago, and it was related to books providing art instruction, drawing books, sketchbooks, and prints. And real talk, if I got an email like that, I'd probably throw up from the anxiety. Like, that's like legit scary to have this email that's like, you might have to pay all this money for selling your own work because you made the mistake of using a public community hashtag that you thought was okay to use. Especially after this hashtag has been around for 10 years and no one has ever said anything about this before. And they didn't say anything about it because these rules existed like 3 days ago. So after I heard about all this, I was curious to see if Jake had addressed it yet, because it's kind of a big deal. And I checked his Twitter, and he hadn't said anything about it yet. In fact, one of his most recent tweets was that he wasn't checking his email anymore for the rest of the year. And normally I'd be like, hell yeah, boundaries, self-care. But like, dude clearly doesn't know. He probably should be checking his email right now. So I politely let him know. Okay, maybe not that politely. That was actually pretty blunt. But I don't know, it was funny to me how like completely out of touch his tweet was. Like, I'm not checking emails, and I'm like, dude, no, check your emails. It's not good timing for this tweet. I'm kind of an asshole. My sense of humor is a little messed up. I thought it was funny. I don't know, whatever. But shortly after that, he noticed the Inktober hashtag was trending, and he addressed it with a tweet that says, "Gah, sorry, I just saw the Inktober trademark stuff. I'm trying to get a hold of my overzealous lawyer. I asked him to send C&Ds to companies selling Inktober merch. It was never my intention to limit anybody's ability to sell their own work, trying to get this sorted out." And I want to take this tweet at face value, I really do. But it definitely rubbed me the wrong way that immediately after that, he retweeted this. "Hey, look, someone just trying to protect an idea they made. As you do when you have an idea that blows up real big on the internet. Because artists are poor AF, let this guy own his trademark. As long as you're not trying to sell something that says hashtag Inktober on it, you're fine, my dudes." And that would be fine if those guidelines were made clear and public at some point, but they weren't. The hashtag is 10 years old, but the trademark claim went into effect a year ago, and these rules have never been publicly stated up until this point. And there are people who have books printed with Inktober in the title already, and they're trying to sell them. They already have all this stock. Those things cost them money to get made, and now they're being told they can't sell them. That sucks. And I'd be willing to bet that some of those artists actually are poor AF. I think Jake retweeting that before he actually fixed it or made anything clear was an extremely poor taste. But to Jake's credit, everything after that shows that he's listening and he is stepping up to fix it. The person who posted that original Artist Alley post updated it to say Jake reached out to them and is trying to work with them, and he's not issuing any more C&Ds at the moment. So the next day, Jake made an update to his website about all of this, clarifying the guidelines and explaining his reasoning for why he did it in the first place. And it inexplicably included a hypothetical scenario about racist t-shirts for some reason. Like, seriously, I don't get this part at all. Were there ever hate speech Inktober shirts? And if Jake was so worried about merch and t-shirts, why did the trademark only mention art books, sketchbooks, and art prints? You know, things that small independent artists sell. He also made several statements on Twitter to clarify that if anyone has issues with Amazon or Etsy, to reach out to him through his website, and that all the cease and desist letters were written by Amazon. That was not his or his lawyer's direct wording. And that sounds good, but I honestly don't know what working with people means at this stage. Does it mean they get special permission as long as you reach out and ask? Does it mean you have to pay him a royalty fee? I haven't seen any information on that yet, so I'm reserving judgment for now. So, do I think that this was all just a big misunderstanding and Jake never meant for any of this to happen? Or do I think he's backpedaling after a PR disaster? Honestly, I couldn't say. I don't really know the guy, but I do live by the idea that if somebody shows you who they are, believe them. So, looking at his actions, I'm a little skeptical that he filed the claim to protect us from hypothetical hate speech t-shirts, especially since the trademark claim had nothing to do with merch or apparel. But the claim did have to do with books and book titles, and he does have a book coming out soon, so I think that's really why the claim was filed. But do I think that he actually did intend to go after small independent artists? No, I don't. And I think his actions demonstrate that, honestly. He now has made the guidelines very clear. He's working with people who already have printed materials that violate the new guidelines. To me, that shows that this really wasn't what he intended and it was an oversight. That said, I think the whole thing is a huge mess. Inktober was created as a community tag for everyone to use, and artists have been heavily encouraged to use it for a decade. And I don't think a reasonable person would have assumed that that meant they're only allowed to use it in certain contexts and not in others. I think the most responsible thing to do would have been to let it continue to be public domain. I think the second most responsible thing to do would have been to publicly announce the trademark claim and all of these guidelines from jump so people were aware and none of this happened. And I guess the third most responsible thing would be to now make sure that these guidelines are promoted just as heavily as the challenge itself so that no one has to deal with this in the future. So in conclusion, I guess, is Inktober canceled? Honestly, that's up to you. Full disclosure, it was never my favorite challenge. I kind of hate the discourse around it in general. And I think if you're using a hashtag that's essentially promoting someone else's brand for free, you should know that that's what you're doing. I'm not sure that if from jump, it had been this trademarked thing, if he had said, hey, my brand Inktober is a thing, and I sell, books and ink pens and drawing tools with this branding, and if you want to make art, using the Inktober hashtag, then do that and help promote my brand. I actually don't think it would have caught on the same way. I think people would have saw through that as like shilly and corporate and not been into it. So the fact that gets tacked on later, I don't know, it feels a little disingenuous to me. Like it feels like something that I don't think would have had the same natural growth and had caught on quite the same way had it been that from jump. So I think doing it now, it's a little bit awkward, and I think there are going to be people who drop off because they're like, I don't really want to promote a brand. That's not my thing. Fuck capitalism, So it's kind of a weird situation. But that said, I'm not advocating that anybody stop using it. I think it's a personal choice whether or not you use that hashtag. I just want to make sure that if people are using it, that they're aware that it's trademarked and that there are rules around selling your work, and to just be careful. I don't know, I just rambled a lot about this whole topic. What do you think? I would love to hear your thoughts in the comments and discuss this more. Please just remember to be kind even if you disagree, and let's keep things chill. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. Until next time, chase your dreams. Peace. By the way, the little drawing that you could see in the corner of this video was December's coloring page for my patrons. Shout out to Hutarujra and DeusNova42 for each doing an amazing job coloring this. I really love what you guys did. Thank you so much. And if you would like coloring pages, your name in the credits of my videos, and all kinds of other perks, please join me at patreon.com/jcchase.